So I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Reem Ibrahim is right, sort of. Now, why would I be agreeing with a libertarian free market fundamentalist? Well, the reason is because she and Reform Deputy Leader Richard Tice had a spat on Twitter over their new ridiculous energy policy. We are putting the renewables industry on notice. We will lower energy bills for working people, and that's coupled with a graphic saying Reform UK will scrap net zero. Windfall tax on renewable generator power, a solar farm tax on farmers taking the renewable subsidy, ban on battery energy storage systems, legislate to force National Grid to put cables underground. Now, Reform are categorically lying here when they say there will lower bills for people. Taxing renewables will increase the cost of bills. Now, what's funny about all of this is despite Reform wanting to scrap net zero, despite the fact that they've called renewables a con, well, Rupert Lowe, another Reform MP, has installed solar panels on his farm because it was cheaper. The Reform MP Rupert Lowe installed solar panels on his farm to save money on energy bills, despite his party pledging to tax solar energy and claiming renewables are more expensive. On Thursday, Reform's Deputy Leader Richard Tice described renewable energy as a massive con as the party announced plans to tax solar farms and ban battery storage systems, which claims are dangerous. Tice promised to scrap net stupid zero if the party won the next general election. Lowe's Cotswolds farm hosts the training ground for the leading racehorse trainer Fergal O'Brien. His mechanical installations company, Lowe and Oliver, furnished the racing centre with renewable energy systems in order to save O'Brien money on electricity bills. In a post on the company's website celebrating the successful installations, it wrote, not surprisingly, the activities and operation of the premises use large amounts of electricity, and with tariffs rocketing, a solar panel installation was seen as the most efficient option to bring down costs in the long term. Now, not only that, but Tice himself is also a massive hypocrite. Richard Tice's property company has enthusiastically embraced green technologies despite his public hostility as Reform UK chair to net zero targets and some of the same initiatives. Electric car charging points and roof-mounted solar panels are increasingly featuring in refurbishment efforts undertaken by Quidnet REIT, of which Tice is chief executive. The company buys, refurbishes, and leases out properties to businesses. It told shareholders last year that solar panels generating electricity were helping to substantially increase rental income and were saving hundreds of tons on CO2 per annum. Such efforts are part of an emerging trend among property companies to recognise that the rooftops and parking areas are ripe for profitable green development. So they're just a bunch of lies, as I've just pointed out, but the main point of this video is that Reem Ibrahim actually embarrassed Tice over their exchange, proving that actually he's the massive idiot. These are genuinely anti-capitalist policies. Scrap the legally binding net zero target. Don't stifle innovation with ridiculous policies like this. Now, of course, taxes aren't anti-capitalist because once again, she's conflating markets and capitalism. But for now, that's a side point, and of course, I disagree that we should scrap net zero targets. Now, Richard Tice responded by saying, you clearly don't understand economics or care about ordinary people's bills and how to reduce them. So, you are pro-dangerous batteries systems? You want to cover farmland with solar panels and pylons? People want to protect our countryside, not blight it. Now, Tice didn't address any of her points and just says, you don't get the economy, bro. And I swear most people, when they say that, they themselves don't understand economics. And maybe he should ask Rupert Lowe about covering farmlands with solar panels, since he literally did that himself. Reem then responded by saying, if you care about lower bills, the aim should be cheap, abundant energy. Making one form of energy deliberately more expensive will not do that. The left did this with oil and gas, which is why bills are so high. Of course, she's wrong about the left and why oil prices are high. When was the last time the left were in government? Never. But also, the left's response is to nationalise energy, which will keep prices down. Now, Richard Tice responded with, clueless Reem, just embarrassing. So no response, he just called her clueless. And why did he do that? Because he's a fucking lying asshole. So Reem is actually kind of bang on here about the fact that renewables are cheap and abundant. Wind and solar are a limitless source of free energy, and that's why the market is responding positively to green energy. Now, oil, well, that's a finite resource, which is, difficult to obtain. If you don't have access to oil on your land, what do? Well, the US likes to go and spread democracy and then just invades and steals the resources of another country. Relying on oil is so stupid, and with the Russian-Ukraine war, that's what's caused bills to skyrocket. Now, Reem, she's a libertarian, so she believes that the market should dictate everything, and as leftists, we believe that we should intervene in the economy to create better outcomes. But what Reform are proposing is literal insanity. They want to rig the economy to protect the profits of the oil industry. By taxing renewables, they will increase the cost of green energy, forcing consumers to switch back or continue with dirty energy. So they are literally intervening in the economy to create worse outcomes. So this basically means that Reform, who I would probably describe as a bunch of Thatcherites, well, they're going even further by rigging the economy in favor of the oil industry. Now, why would they do that? Well, it's because they're funded by oil companies. They're doing the bidding for them, making policies that hurt consumers by increasing bills. And the thing is, oil won't be the cheap alternative. It's going to continue to rise as it becomes more scarce. So when politicians say we should be energy independent, we should frack and get our own oil, that'll bring down the costs. I mean, aside from the immense environmental damage, the more we drill, the more the costs will eventually rise. So we should have energy independence, but we should do that by energy nationalization and then investing in green energy. Now, oil isn't going to run out in our lifetime, but that's the trajectory. So it's never going to get cheaper unless you introduce subsidies, which is kind of what Reform are doing. I mean, they're not actively giving companies or oil companies money unless it's sort of tax breaks. But what they're doing really is they're rigging the clean energy competition. And the media won't hold Reform to account. They are lying to the people. Renewables are not a con, but they are con men. They want to actively make workers poorer so they can suck up to their daddy corporate donors. They are scum. And this is just so unbelievably corrupt, and it's such a bad energy policy that even Reem Ibrahim is making sense.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.